Market Measures is our weekday research segment where we test trading concepts with real market data. Today, we break down the Kelly Criterion and why position sizing matters as much as strategy, if not more. Stay tuned to discover how sizing mistakes can limit growth and how the Kelly Criterion with real options examples helps you avoid them.
Kelly's Criterion is an interesting mathematical theorem. Yes, yeah. It actually applies. So when I started trading, it was all about my poker history and trying to like translate poker strategy to the options world. And it was always like, pick your spots, bankroll management, high probability trades, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the Kelly Criterion is actually something that comes up a lot too in the poker world in terms of like expected value, that kind of thing, implied value, expected value. So Kelly Criterion is super important to understand from a conceptual basis, and we'll dive in. The growth formula from April 25th, 2025. The Kelly Criterion helps determine the optimal fraction of capital to allocate in order to maximize long-term growth while reducing the risk of ruin. So a simple definition, Kelly equals maximize growth and control risk through proper sizing based on edge, implied value, expected value, that kind of thing. Next slide, please. So the formula is expressed as F equals P minus Q over B, where F is the optimal capital percentage to allocate, P is the probability of profit, Q is the losing probability or the probability of loss, and B is the net odds received or the amount won per dollar bet.
So Q is also equal to 1 minus P.
Yep.
What I'm saying.
Yep. So just probability of profit and then the probability of loss ultimately. So now that we've got that math stuff out of the way, let's dive further.
I'll tell you the last time I saw a formula.
It's always funny whenever I'm looking for a formula, I always ping Dr. Jim. I'm like, hey, can you give me a formula for this? He's like, oh yeah, here you go. Let's use iron condors as an example. So $100,000 portfolio, strategy, 1 lot iron condor, probability of profit 85%, which brings your probability of loss to 15%, and the net odds of 20%, for example, a $3 premium versus $1,500 buying power. So the result, Kelly recommends allocating 10% of capital for optimal long-term growth with virtually no risk of ruin. So risk of ruin can also be stated as how your bet size run out 100 times, 1,000 times. If it's too large, if your bet size is too large, you don't allow yourself the ability to absorb variance against you. So that's another. We talk about this all the time. Like that's embedded in this segment here. Let's move to the next slide and we can dive deeper. So the sample portfolio should expect to see a 25% final profit after 100 trades with zero chance of depleting the capital. So again, 10% allocated, the mean final value, 125K, so 25% expected gain. Average drawdown, 37%. So this is a good call out here that even though you're expected after 100 trades to make 25%, your average drawdown is still a pretty large number with 10% allocated. So, and this is kind of a multiple effect where if your allocation is too high, that average drawdown is going to really drag down as well. Ruin rate projected to be 0, and the full Monte Carlo simulation, 100 runs. I know Monte Carlo traditionally is usually a lot more, so like 5,000, 10,000 simulations, which gets you closer to that expected value, right? Mm-hmm. The more you run something, the more you account for the tails in your favor and the tails against you. And I think that's a good way to think about this. Like if you're entering a new trade or you're making an adjustment, if I run this 1,000 times, do I feel good about what I perceive the results to be? And if the answer is yes, you're likely in a positive expected value situation. And I think that comes with like price extremes and things like that. But from a straight up formula standpoint, 10% with the strategy in place, here's your expected mean return.
It's pretty damn good. I mean, 25% profit. Trades, 0.
And really, the ruin rate is the most important thing. We see this all the time. it's harder to trade small and smaller accounts. But at the end of the day, like if you're throwing on 4 or 5 trades and you're using all your buying power, like it's only a matter of time before things turn into ruin, because you can't absorb the volatility of a tariff situation and like literally anything. And even this year, we're up 20% this year. The previous years, we're up 20-30%. Within that annual return, there's still super volatile periods. Like we had a VIX of 60 this year.
Yep.
We just forget about it.
Yep.
Because we have, the near-term memory, short-term memory. Next slide, please. If we keep the success rate at 85% but change the odds, the optimal Kelly allocation will also change. Higher odds support larger, more aggressive position sizing. So if we look at 15%, 20%, and 25% odds, your Kelly is going to ultimately go from 15 to 25. So the mean return, if your odds are lower, shift negative. Average drawdown is significant, ruin rate is significant, and this is just on a 5% change. So I think when you look at a lower percent odds of making money, that's when you need to really size down to account for the fact that you're taking more risk by way of a lower probability of profit. Where if you have a higher odd probability to make money on this simulation, you can use more of that allocation ultimately, because you have significantly more winners versus losers. So this goes back to this segment we talked about earlier, the question we answered earlier of like, you're going to always have losers. If you do 100 trades, 200 trades, 300 trades through a year, you're going to have losing trades for sure. But if you can turn those losing trades into lesser losses or scratches, it makes a massive difference, as you can see here, in your year-end results or your projected year-end results.
I mean, it's amazing how different it is.
Yeah. And another call out here, this average drawdown. So we looked at the 20% odds, 10% allocation, average drawdown of 37%. Slightly higher odds and more than double the allocation, you basically double your average drawdown. So still have to understand that even in a 25% allocation situation, you're going to have drawdowns that are still pretty high. Last slide, please. Takeaways. Kelly provides a mathematical framework for optimal position sizing, and many traders use fractional Kelly 25 to 75% to reduce volatility. Option strategies fit Kelly well because probabilities and payouts are known before entry. And I think the biggest takeaway for me from a defined risk standpoint is just matching up your probabilities. Like, I know we looked at this the other day. If I'm selling an at the money spread and I'm not collecting 50% of the width, I'm not selling the at the money spread, because if an at the money spread is a 50-50 probability, if I'm not collecting 50% of the width of that spread, reflecting a 50% probability, that's not a great trade to make. So just understanding those kind of things, like if you're one standard deviation away and you're collecting 1/3 the width, that's pretty standard. But when you have these situations where there might be skew affecting premium on both sides, if I'm expecting a 50% probability and I'm not collecting 50% of that width, it's a no-go for me.
Yeah.
And that's just from this. Like, that's literally mathematically from this, but applied to real life trading.
Yeah, it helps you realize when trades working well in your favor potentially, or when not to force trades.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%. That was a quick one. Rapid fire.
Wait, what?
Got one
Another
more.
one. We got a bonus.
We got another one?
We got a bonus. What to expect after a 10% decline from March 28th, 2025? What would you expect after a 10% decline?
After a 10% decline, I expect the market to be higher 6 months later.
Bingo.
1 year later.
That's it. That's the show.
I've seen these things before.
Yeah. Let's dive in. Frequency of 10% drops in the S&P 500 within 1 month is uncommon for a 10% drop. Historically, it takes an average of 25 days for the first 10% correction in any 30-day period. And these dots are there, but this is over from when I was in high school to now, period. Like, this is a long time. So 10% drop, we've got a handful of them, and they do happen. They will happen. They will continue to happen. Even though we're in this crazy bull market, like, they will continue to happen.
I traded in all of these.
Yeah. It's nuts. It's wild when it does happen because in your mind, you're like, the world is ending. The markets don't matter anymore. Everything's going to zero.
Well, I know we're talking about the frequency of 10% drops, and what I just said is true. But I think the best thing to think about as we go through these slides is sizing, right? Because a 10% drop can turn into a 15 or 20% drop, and that's what we're always scared of. That's why we don't jump all the way in. Sizing.
Yep. And this speaks directly to the year-long trade in MES. Like, you have to be able to withstand any variance. And that's the problem that a lot of people run into is they believe that there won't be a 10% drop in whatever year they're trading it in. And they size up to account for a lack of a 10% drop. And eventually it's going to happen. So if you know that eventually it's going to happen and you account for it now by staying super small, it's just a totally different world that you're in, especially in the S&P where it's very predictable in the sense of like these things are going to happen, but over time they've always recovered. So if you can account for that, you're in a whole nother ballpark in terms of future trade expectations. Next slide, please. When we analyzed the 30-day window after the first 10% market drop, we found that in 32% of occurrences, the market fell even further. Only 2 occurrences, 11%, saw the price rally all the way back to pre-drop levels, both happening in 2008. Interesting. The average return during the 30-day period was less than 1%. All these findings indicate that the market recovers from these large drops much more slowly than it moves south. So the old adage, escalator up, elevator down, there you have it. It's just hard to time when that elevator is going to drop. So yeah, interesting to see that within that 30-day window, only 2 occurrences, both in 2008, which just goes to show how wild 2008 was. Takes a longer time, but the longer you go out on the horizon, the higher the probability that has recovered because we're sitting at all-time highs or close to it now. Next slide, please. Everything starts to improve when the duration is extended. As we just stated, we find the markets show higher chances of recovery after 2 months, although still only less than half of the events saw a full recovery after 3 months. But still, these are high percentages in terms of if you see a 10% correction, full recovery in 90 days, almost 40%. A full recovery is a big recovery. And if you think about it mathematically, if you have a 10% correction to the downside, that's almost a 20% correction back up from the new price point. So that's pretty substantial when you think of opportunity.
Yeah,
sure.
It's what we saw this year. Almost 20% correction downside of more than 40 to 50% higher in a couple months.
Next slide, please. It took less than a month to rally back 50% of the original price. Makes a lot of sense. This is much quicker than expected. There's only one occurrence that it took longer than 6 months to recover 50%, which was in 2022. And that makes sense too, because between 2020 and 2022 was COVID, and that was the time that I saw extended volatility being heightened. Like that was when VXX, UVXY, the VIX, like all of those things were popping, and we were elevated with 25 to 30% implied volatility. That was the time where the president would take the stand and markets would fly around at 4 o'clock. Like it was crazy times.
Yeah,
it was nuts. I remember literally like me, Nick, and Kevin would get on a Zoom call for those press conferences, crack a beer because everyone was just at home.
Yeah,
we would just watch them and watch the markets go like fly around. It was crazy.
It was wild. I mean, because again, it was all determined on what was going on with COVID, et cetera.
Yep. Last slide, please. Recovery speed, 100%. It took about 3 months to fully recover from all the losses. Partial recovery is more realistic early on, but maintaining some negative delta and selling premium at high IV may help before full recovery occurs. But at the same time, like if you know that the median is 3 months for a full recovery, I'd rather lean bullish in those situations. Like you can still sell premium on both sides for sure. But this is one of those adjustments that I'm personally making in the sense of like, if you believe this to be true going forward, then into these drops, like you probably want to pick up some delta, even just a little bit, or at least have a plan to offset delta to the upside. If you do get that quick recovery, you can keep shifting things higher and trade that new range for sure.
Yeah, I try to pick up longer deltas in these type of situations at least a month, maybe 2 months out. Because again, it takes some time and you never know. This study was done, says March 28th, 2025. Whole lot going on then. If I could have talked to those people, I'd be like, hold on, just wait for another 2 weeks. But we don't have that ability.
Yeah.
That's why sizing matters.